welcome everybody. We got a little R-Tool demo today. So if you've been watching our promos, you're on our website, you can grab a good deal on a little bundle. So it is an R-Tool. It's the 203, which is the frog shape. That way it looks like a frog. So it's a little bit larger. It's one of the larger handles. And then it comes with two of these handle forms. And so they're these shapes. So I just kind of want to remind everyone how to use these tools whenever folks come in and try them out. There's a little bit of technique to it. It makes a big difference. And so I've talked to people who have bought one and they just can't get like the right result. And it's all about the angle that you pull it through in the clay. So have a look and I'll walk you through it and kind of talk a little bit about how to use the forms. Not too much there. And then if you are curious about the bundle, you can go to the website, you'll see it, but it is basically add $150 worth of product to your cart. And then you can add the holiday bundle. So it is a product, you gotta make sure to go find that item. Add that to your cart and it'll be free. So check that out. When I use the R-Tools, you can pull directly out of a bag of clay. This is just a little block of clay that I wedged up. You can cut them right out of a fresh bag of clay. This right now is pretty soft. It's maybe a little bit softer than a fresh bag. The stiffer the clay, the little bit better. So sometimes when it's too soft, when you're pulling it out, it's just more likely you're gonna get fingerprints and dents and all sorts of stuff on there. So it's something to keep in mind. Just if you want to reserve a bag of clay and just maybe cut a block off at a time, let it sit out for a little while, you're gonna get an easier result, I'll say. It doesn't mean you can't do it, it just means if you're just gonna have a little easier time. So on the R-Tools, all of the newer tools, I will say, that we sell, they all have a little thumb screw on them. And so that can be loosened. And then this is the depth ski right here. So that little ski underneath, this is what will control the thickness of your handle, of your extrusion. So if you push it all the way down, you actually end up with, you'll see in between the ski and the blade, that's what you're cutting. So when you push it up closer to the handle, that's gonna be a little bit thicker. And so we'll set it kind of right in the middle, tighten that up. And then right now, this is my block of clay. So I'm gonna pull it through this way and you're gonna end up with an extrusion about this long. The biggest technique, and this is kind of what I show people, is a lot of the time they go in, they hold it up and they push into the clay. And what happens is you end up just kind of like pulling it out and you get just a little chunk on there. It does not turn out and maybe you get frustrated. So the biggest tip I gotta say is hold it down low. This tool is designed that if you're pulling it through that clay low, it's going to separate the extrusion from the block of clay. And you'll see it as I pull along here, you're gonna see it start to lift up like right behind the tool. And that's what you want to see, just like this. So you'll see it's actually popping up out of the block. That's what you wanna see. And then it will practically like just pull itself out on the tool. So you end up with a shape like that. And then you can pull this off. I'll lay this out just to harden up. So this is pretty soft based on this little slab of clay that I got. I'd probably let this sit for 10-15 minutes just to firm up before even trying to put it on a form or mess with it or anything. You get a much nicer result when you pull at a low angle. And so what happens is that blade is kind of compressing the front face of the extrusion. So you get a really clean, it's almost burnished, you get a really smooth, shiny finish. Versus if you're too tall and you're pushing into the clay, you end up kind of smushing that extrusion back into the block, and then it's really hard to get out. And you get kind of a weird texture on there. So remember, you're gonna be at a low angle. And the other thing is, while I'm pulling through, I'm still not pushing into the block. I'm purely just pulling. And so notice there's really no mark on the back I've seen people when they go, they're pushing into the clay pretty hard, and then you end up with a deeper groove. It will re-stick much easier. So make sure to just pull gently back, and then it will just come right out. So we're gonna get that really nice, clean shape on there. So I'll let these sit for a minute. I got room for one more, and this is the 203. Now, and we can do a little bit thicker if we want. This little slab I took from a bag of clay, so it's a little bit firmer. So we'll pull that out. And then also notice on the back, you know, you really don't want to be getting much of a mark on there at all. And that just has to do with how much you're actually pressing the tool into the clay versus pulling it through. So you want to be pulling it through. Pull that out. So one tip that someone actually told me in Sika a few years ago, and it totally makes sense, is they will, and basically I do this all the time now too, is they'll pull a blank like this out of the R tool. So you get a really nice, clean sort of blank, and then I'll actually take a little bit of water, wait for it to stiffen up, a little bit of water, and just lightly pull this like you would a handle. You're not really trying to reshape it, you're just sort of stretching it out a little bit, and it gives it a little bit more of like a tapered look. It almost makes it look hand pulled, except you still keep all these neat little grooves and designs in there. So that's a fun little trick that I pretty much do all the time now, because I like all these grooves, the fun intricate shapes, but sometimes you just want a little bit more of that tapered sort of pulled look. So make a blank, and it can be shorter than this even, because you can pull it and stretch it out a little bit, and then I'll put it on the table to dry up the rest of the way. These forms, so when you get them, we actually have a couple here. So when you get them, they're going to come in two pieces. There's the form and the little stand. All you do is pop that in there, so that way it has something to stand up with. These stands, they will click together, so it's like a little puzzle piece. They'll click together if you want to get a bunch of the same, or you just want a little lineup, you can keep them together that way. We have 10 different shapes. Part of this bundle, you get the handle form, I think 1 and 3. So 1 is just a classic handle shape, easy to go with. I'll take this form and you just kind of drape it over the top. So really easy, let that sit up, and then when you're ready to attach it, get our multi-tool here. So one thing that's nice is if you have to do any work on the handle while it's drying, you can hold the form like this. You're not going to mess up the actual handle. And so if you need to sponge anything or clean anything, it's nice to hold. And then you can cut it off right on here as well. So we'll cut there, and let's say we cut this one. So you can kind of do all your prep work, all your trimming, cutting right on there, and then once this stiffens up, it'll come off ready to go right on your piece. So I will let this dry a little bit more. There you have it. So it's just a handy thing to use. If you want more of the same kind, you can get a bunch and line them up. Oh man, you own all the forms and extrusions, that's good. We have a lot of shapes, so this is just a few of them. So feel free to go look on the website. We do have, we originally started with sort of the classic size, I would call it. So this is the original R6. This is the R206. So there is a significant size difference, just so you can see that. I'll say you have to keep in mind that these shrink. So The original handles, they work great. We got a lot of comments that people wanted a bigger size, so that's where the 200s came from. The 203, which is part of this bundle, that is the larger size. So, when you pull it out, you get this extrusion that might seem kind of large, but keep in mind it shrinks. So that's always going to affect something. I think we have I'm going to grab the glazed version of this quick, and you can see it. So here we go. So this handle, this is basically a glazed version of the 203. It's honestly one of my favorites because you get a thin little groove here, and in the middle, you get a lot of action going on. So if you have the right glaze to break or settle in there, it's a great handle for it. I'll leave that there. So there you have it. That's kind of all I wanted to show. Reminder on, I'll do it one more time. When you're using these, or if you just joined, the biggest tip on our tools, pull at a low angle. I'm not pushing into the clay, just pulling it through, low angle, and that extrusion, it should just come right out. Every time I do it, it comes out right on the tool, just like that. More here. Just for comparison, if I go too high, you end up pushing this back in. You'll notice it's not popping out of the block, and then you actually have to kind of pull it out. The surface on here, even if you do manage to get it out, you're not going to be as smooth and clean and burnished if you're pulling at a low angle. So here at a lower angle, you'll see it start to sort of lift up, and then it will just come right out with the tool almost too easily. Pull it right through, just like that. So you're gonna get I don't know if you'll be able to see this, but this surface is not at a low angle. You can see you kind of have these little sticky marks on it. This surface is with a low angle. It's a lot shinier, smoother. So it's a big difference. Definitely give that a shot. All right, I think that's it. So we'll leave her there. Have a great rest of your week. Check out the sale going on the rest of this week. And then next week we're already in Thanksgiving. So thanks for joining. I appreciate everyone asking questions and hanging out. And other than that, have a good rest of your day.